But look, at the end of the day, there's only one thing we're talking about, and it's not even that loss. Okay, we did lose to Philly 38-31, another game that we had a lead. We were up early, kind of fell off towards late, but we're not even going to dive into that, ladies and gentlemen. We kind of expected that to happen and played a little bit better than I guess we could say we expected. But as a fallout of that, and probably a precursor, because we heard prior to that game that there's two guys that were potentially on the trading block. Both of those guys were traded, and it kind of surprised me that it was both. And we're going to give out our initial trade deadline reaction. Montez Sweat and Chase Young both land elsewhere. Montez Sweat goes to Chicago Bears for a second, and Chase to San Francisco for a third
compensatory third.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to get into the specifics of the Chase trade?
Let's do it.
Let's do that. Yeah. So I definitely think this coaching staff was ready to get rid of him, without a doubt. If you were to pick the two, they were done with Chase Young. The fans are not. So this is probably harder for the fans to take than the coaching, than the organization. Whereas I think the organization is a little bit more bummed about losing Montez. I think the coaches are. And this is the part that is the saddest part to me, is the fact that this is the third time we've gotten a potential generational talent that we have squandered in Washington. LeVar Arrington, Robert Griffin III, Chase Young. All Redskin careers, busts.
Yep.
And that's really just, that's like a shot to your ego, a shot to your gut. And that was partly, I think, where like last week I was like, I'm not ready to give up on this. Let's just see if another group can take care of him and make him shine. Right. But this group got tired of his act. They got tired after his rookie year when he didn't show up for OTAs the next year. They got tired of the fact that when he got hurt, he didn't rehab in Ashburn. He was away. Yeah. And they were having to, let's see, look at the videos to find out. Like there was communication issues. And then on the field, they visibly, prior to him getting hurt in 2021, Ron was saying, we need to be more mature. We need to be more disciplined. We need to focus on the scheme. They were tired of him saying, my job is to get the quarterback.
Right.
And it was happening this year too. And he does have a higher winning percentage rushing the passer than Montez Sweat, but it's his mentality of, my job is to go get the quarterback. And I'm not criticizing that, but I'm in the scheme that they're running, they don't want that every single snap.
Right.
And they got tired of it. And they were ready to get rid of him. And so I think the fact that they, to them, they even came out with it. They said this is addition by subtraction, in our opinion. And I want to address those comments real quick before I let you kind of share your thoughts. Is I was really upset to hear this. After they traded Chase Young, one comment came out from Michael Silver. Remember that reporter that was with us? He's friends with Ron Rivera. And he says something along the lines of they were tired of him doing his own things and not listening to the coaches. So that came from Ron. And then Ben Standig reported that a source told him that they viewed this as addition by subtraction.
Wow.
And I'm not opposed to what they're saying, because when Chase was out, the defense played stout at times.
Oh yeah.
But why did we have to say this hours after you just traded this guy?
Right.
That's a Dan Snyder, Bruce Allen type move. Why are we stooping to that level? Why don't we just let the guy go?
Yeah.
And hold ourselves higher, be more mature. So I'm really upset about that part, about what the organization did. I felt that was low. It was a low blow against Chase.
Oh yeah. And it makes you go back and start looking at some of the events that were happening after the losses. You go back to when, it was very well noted and documented that Ron Rivera put up the sign on the locker room and all the doors saying, do your job. And we all speculated, who was he talking about? Who is he talking about? Now, I'm not saying we have confirmation, but at the same time, there has been a lot of, like you said, a lot of issues with Chase and doing what he wants to do as opposed to what the scheme entails him doing. So it makes you wonder, man, maybe instead of saying straight to Chase, you need to do your job. Let me put this out here for everybody to see, to make it like, you know what I mean? Like when the boss comes in and he instead of telling that one person to single them out in front of everybody, he says, we all got to get better, you know? And then you got other people looking at each other like, I'm doing great. I don't know what you're talking about, but it could possibly have been that. And I don't know if that works as well for Montez, but when you sit there and look at that, as far as addition by subtraction, like you said, these are three guys, generational talents, guys that, you know, everybody went to get a jersey of. You know, people still getting RG3 jerseys, and that's the same for Chase. And I don't know. I think towards the end, especially for us from a fan's perspective, it was kind of, you wanted to hold on. You wanted to be like, this is the guy that everybody wanted, and we got him, and you know, this is what we want, and you know, first year rookie of the year, and But then you go back and look at that rookie year. You look at, you know, he was making those impact plays, but who was he making those impact plays against? Nate Sudfeld, Nick Mullins, you know what I mean? Danny Dimes in his infancy. So I think all of us fans and in the media had a big hand in inflating this guy's head, much like Robert Griffin. I mean, Robert Griffin, you know, people forget that we went 3-6 that year and were imploding before we went on that 7-game stretch and got to the playoffs. And then all of a sudden we're crowning this man as the second coming of Jesus. And then we see once he came back to reality. I think we had that with Chase. And maybe that is on us. Maybe that's as fans. Because when we get a hold of somebody, you know what I mean? When we get a hold of a talent, LeVar is the same way. When we get a hold of it, this is it. We put everything into that. And I mean, I don't think that's different from many other fan bases. I mean, you know, people talk about Tom Brady people left New England to go to Tampa with this man because they love him so much. So I really feel like we really all got hyped on Chase. And sometimes, I know even for me, sometimes that blinded me from seeing this guy really, you know, he kind of takes plays off. This guy is, you know, he's got one or two moves, a bull rush, and then maybe a speed move. He's really not working with everybody. And as you see, like he'll run up the field and then all of a sudden that quarterback almost walks through that hole where he used to be and throws it or runs it and everything like that. So, yeah, this one frustrated me, but I saw it come. I saw what it could be.
Right.
The other one, though. Oh, good.
Well, what was tough about this one is it's untapped potential.
Yep.
Is where we're like you said, we saw him potentially being. You said it best. Like everybody wanted this guy, and we got him. Yeah. It was like we finally got the best player in college to come to our team, and people were like, oh my gosh, you guys got Chase Young for the next 10 years. That's gonna be a problem. But it wasn't happening. It wasn't turning out on the field, and that we also as fans were getting frustrated every single week hearing about, well, what did Chase do? What did he do? What did he not do?
Yes.
And then, Jack is one that he's been saying from the very beginning of the season, he's like, he takes plays off. He only wants to make sacks. He doesn't fit within the scheme. And I think that's the whole point, the whole collective part. The player, the coaches, like that's what's kind of sad that it didn't come out with a much better ending. But I also think this saved us from stuff in the offseason. Because when his dad comes on the radio show and says that he's a top 4 defensive lineman, that lets you know that this family feels that he wants to get paid. And I'm not disputing that he shouldn't want to do that. But that just makes you wonder, what are negotiations going to be like with him? For one, does he like our coaches and our schemes? 2, does he want to work with a new coach that he doesn't know if we change over? And 3, most importantly, what's it going to cost? Because if in their mind, he's the same thing as Nick Bosa, but on-field production, say he's the same thing as somebody else, that's going to be re-signing is going to be difficult. And so the fact that if the team kind of knew that, to get ahead of it, a 3rd-round compensation is not very good, but it's better than nothing, and it gives us something to build on for the future.
Oh yeah, and what might be the biggest thing is the headache that it's going to take out, just like you were talking about with that potential signing that we have. But I mean, I think you alluded to it earlier, and it's something that we praise Josh Allen and Magic Johnson for buying the team and then immediately coming talking to the fans and immersing themselves in the DC community. And then you tell about Chase when he got hurt or in his off seasons where he's going elsewhere and he's not communicating. He's working out with Von Miller and he's, going to Ohio State. He's doing all these things. And it's kind of like you can see the blueprints of us trying to build a culture. Yeah. And if your best guy is not working out with you guys off season, do you expect him to come in here and automatically be, rah-rah with us during the regular season? You know what I mean? And we don't know. Obviously, all this stuff's going to come out in time, but we don't know how the players were handling it. Right. We don't know. We all know, hey, Chase is this guy, and everybody praises him, but maybe the players are starting to be like, look, we're balling out. Casey Toohill was a 7th-round pick. He's balling out. And he's like, Chase is still getting the love. Chase is still getting praise in DC. I'm sitting here running quarterbacks now. Come on now. Yeah. So, I definitely think that's something where you have the fanhood and the fandom against the culture and what's better for the team. And at the end of the day, this might have been the best move. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.